In a distant galaxy, the Xenon ruled with fear and power. They were known as the most dangerous species, feared by many for their advanced technology and ruthless tactics. Their ships were massive, gliding through the stars with ease, and their soldiers were trained for combat from a young age. They believed themselves to be the ultimate warriors in the universe. The Xenon War Council gathered in a dark, grand room filled with glowing screens and holograms. The leader, Commander Varkon, stood at the front, a tall figure with sharp features and piercing eyes. He surveyed his team, a group of strong and fierce aliens who were ready to follow him into battle. Varkon spoke with confidence, his voice echoing in the chamber. "We have received reports of a new planet, a place called Earth. The humans there are weak and primitive. They will be easy to conquer." His council members nodded, their faces filled with excitement at the prospect of victory. They had already defeated many civilizations, and the thought of adding Earth to their list made them eager. Varkon explained their plan to invade. "We will strike swiftly and without mercy. Our ships will surround the planet, and we will take control before they even know we are there." As the Xenon prepared for war, they had no idea that their greatest challenge was yet to come. Meanwhile, on Earth, scientists worked day and night to understand the strange signals they had been picking up from space. Dr. Lisa Grant, a leading scientist, studied the data with a team of experts. "These signals are unusual," she said, looking at the blinking lights on her computer screen. "They could be a warning or a call for help." Her team exchanged worried glances. They had heard stories of alien civilizations, but they never imagined they would encounter one. Dr. Grant decided it was time to alert the government. "We need to prepare for any possible threat. We don't know who or what could be out there." Back in the Xenon fleet, Varkon and his crew continued their preparations. They loaded their ships with weapons and advanced technology, ready to unleash chaos upon Earth. The Xenon believed they were invincible, and their arrogance grew with each passing moment. They had fought and conquered many planets, and Earth would be no different. On the day of the attack, the Xenon ships lined up in formation, ready to descend on Earth. The vast fleet was a sight to behold, with thousands of ships shining under the stars. Varkon stood on the bridge of his flagship, feeling a rush of excitement. "Today we will show the humans the power of the Xenon," he declared. As the ships entered Earth's atmosphere, alarms began to ring out across the planet. Humans were caught off guard. Dr. Grant and her team watched in horror as the sky filled with strange ships. The invasion had begun. The first blast hit a small outpost near the coast, causing massive destruction. Humans ran in panic, trying to escape the chaos. The Xenon soldiers landed, expecting an easy victory. But what they found was not what they had anticipated. The humans were not defenseless. Armed with makeshift weapons and fierce determination, they fought back. They used their knowledge of the land to their advantage, hiding in the forests and launching surprise attacks on the Xenon troops. The Xenon were stunned. These primitive beings were showing unexpected bravery. As the battles raged on, the Xenon began to realize that Earth was not as weak as they had thought. The humans were clever and resourceful, using their surroundings to outsmart their alien invaders. Varkon watched in disbelief as his troops struggled against the unexpected ferocity of the humans. The invasion, which was supposed to be a simple victory, was quickly turning into a nightmare for the Xenon. They had underestimated their enemy, and now, as explosions filled the air and cries of battle echoed, they understood that they were facing a challenge unlike any they had encountered before. The humans were ready to fight for their home, and the Xenon would soon learn that they were not the only dangerous species in the galaxy. The seeds of conflict had been planted, and the fate of both species hung in the balance. The battle for Earth had begun, and no one knew what would happen next. The sky over Earth was dark, filled with the shadowy shapes of the Xenon fleet. As their ships descended, panic spread across the planet. Dr. Lisa Grant and her team were still in the control room, watching the invasion unfold on their screens. "We need to warn everyone!" she shouted, her heart racing. "They have to know what's coming!" Meanwhile, Commander Varkon was on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes fixed on the planet below. "Prepare for landing," he ordered. "Let's show these humans our strength." He was confident that their advanced technology would easily crush any resistance. But he was about to discover that humans were not as weak as he believed. As the Xenon ships landed, the ground shook. Soldiers poured out of the ships, clad in dark armor and ready for battle. They marched with purpose, their weapons gleaming in the light. Varkon led the charge, eager to make a statement. "This world is ours!" he shouted, raising his weapon high. "Surrender now, and your lives will be spared!" But the humans were not about to give up without a fight. A group of brave soldiers, led by Captain Mike Harris, had gathered near the outpost. They were armed with whatever weapons they could find, rifles, homemade explosives, and a fierce determination to protect their home. "We won't let them take our planet," Mike yelled, rallying his troops. "Stand your ground!" As the first shots were fired, the humans launched their counterattack. They took cover behind trees and rocks, shooting at the Xenon soldiers. To Varkon's surprise, the humans were fighting back with skill and courage. "These creatures are more dangerous than we thought," he exclaimed, frustration growing in his voice. The battle raged on, with explosions echoing through the air. The humans fought bravely, using their knowledge of the terrain to outsmart the Xenon soldiers. They set traps, ambushing the invaders as they advanced. Each victory gave the humans more confidence, while the Xenon began to feel the weight of uncertainty. As the fighting continued, Varkon ordered a retreat. "We need to regroup and rethink our strategy," he said, realizing that their initial plan had failed. The humans were not just a simple target, they were a formidable foe. Meanwhile, Dr. Grant was working frantically to gather more information. "We need to understand their technology," she said to her team. "If we can figure out how their ships work, we might have a chance." Back on the battlefield, the humans were celebrating their unexpected success. Captain Mike spoke to his team. "We fought hard today, but this is just the beginning. We need to keep fighting together." The soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted by their victory. However, as the night fell, the Xenon regrouped and prepared for a new assault. Varkon was furious. "These humans have delayed us long enough," he growled. "We will not be defeated by mere creatures." The following day, the Xenon launched a second attack, but this time, they had a different plan. Varkon sent in a specialized unit equipped with advanced technology to capture a human soldier alive. "We need to understand them," he declared. "We must find out what makes them fight so fiercely." The Xenon soldiers moved through the forest, quietly searching for humans. Meanwhile, Mike and his team were unaware of the lurking threat. As they prepared for another battle, they discussed their next move. "We have to keep our defenses strong," Mike said. "We know they'll come back." Just as they finished their meeting, the Xenon soldiers struck. They launched a surprise attack, catching the humans off guard. In the chaos, they managed to capture one soldier. Varkon watched from his ship, feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. "Now we will learn what these humans are really made of," he said with a sly smile. As the dust settled from the surprise attack, the humans realized they had suffered a significant blow, but even in their defeat, they remained resilient. They vowed to fight back no matter the odds. The battle for Earth was far from over, and both sides were learning valuable lessons about each other. With the Xenon eager to uncover the secrets of humanity, and the humans ready to defend their home at all costs, the stage was set for an epic clash between two very different species. The story of their first contact was just beginning, and it would change the fate of both worlds forever. The sun rose over Earth, casting a golden light on the battlefield. Captain Mike Harris and his team were in a makeshift command center, a small room filled with maps and radios. They were still recovering from the surprise attack by the Xenon. Many of their friends had been captured, and fear hung heavy in the air. But Mike knew that giving up was not an option. "We have to keep fighting," he told his team, determination in his eyes. "The Xenon may think they can break us, but they don't understand the human spirit. We fight for our home, our families, and each other." His words sparked hope in the hearts of his comrades. Meanwhile, Commander Varkon was aboard his flagship, frustrated and angry. He stared at the captured human soldier displayed on a holographic screen. The soldier, a young woman named Sarah, had fought bravely before being taken. "What can you tell us about your people?" Varkon demanded, leaning closer. "Why do you resist?" Sarah looked up defiantly, her spirit unbroken. "You think you can intimidate us? We are not afraid of you," she replied, her voice steady. Varkon was taken aback by her courage. He expected fear, but instead he saw strength. "Humans are weak," he scoffed. "You will all submit." In the command center, Mike gathered his team around a table. "We need to come up with a plan to rescue Sarah and the others," he said. "If we don't act now, they might never come back." The room buzzed with energy as they discussed ideas. Each member of the team shared their thoughts, showing their creativity and determination. As they brainstormed, one soldier, Jake, spoke up. "What if we use the old sewer system? It runs under the entire city. We could sneak in without being detected." The others nodded, excited by the idea. "Yes, we can get close without alerting the Xenon!" Mike exclaimed, his mind racing with possibilities. While the humans prepared their plan, the Xenon continued their interrogations. Varkon was determined to break Sarah's spirit. "You will tell me everything," he insisted. But Sarah only glared back at him, refusing to give in. The more he pressed, the more she held her ground. Days passed, and Mike's team worked tirelessly. They gathered supplies and practiced their tactics. Each moment strengthened their bond, and they grew more confident. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for all of humanity. As the night of the rescue approached, they felt a mix of fear and excitement. On the night of the mission, the sky was dark, and the air was thick with tension. Mike and his team quietly made their way to the entrance of the sewer. "Stay quiet and stick together," he instructed. They crawled through the damp tunnels, their hearts racing. They knew the risks, but were driven by a sense of duty and hope. As they emerged from the sewer, they found themselves near the Xenon base. The sight of the enemy's technology filled them with determination. They could see the lights of the Xenon ships glowing in the distance. "We're almost there," Mike whispered, leading the way. The team stealthily approached the base, moving like shadows. They used hand signals to communicate, showing the strength of their teamwork. As they neared the building where Sarah was held, they spotted a group of Xenon guards. With a nod from Mike, they sprang into action, catching the guards off guard. A fierce fight erupted. The humans fought with a mix of fear and bravery, using their training and the element of surprise to gain the upper hand. Each blow they landed was fueled by the love they had for their captured friends and family. They pushed forward, determined to rescue Sarah and the others. Finally, they reached the room where Sarah was held. The door was heavily guarded, but Mike and his team fought fiercely, pushing through. When the door burst open, Sarah looked up in shock. "You came for me!" she exclaimed, tears of relief in her eyes. "We will always come for each other," Mike replied, a smile spreading across his face. "Now let's get out of here!" They quickly untied her, and together they made their escape, fighting their way back through the enemy lines. As they fled into the night, the humans felt a surge of hope. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. The spirit of humanity burned brightly within them, proving that even against the strongest enemies, they would never back down. With Sarah safely by their side, they knew that this was just the beginning. The battle for Earth was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Xenon had underestimated the human spirit, and now, the true fight for their home had only just begun. The sun rose over the battlefield, casting a warm glow on the weary faces of the human fighters. Captain Mike Harris stood at the front of his team, his heart filled with hope after their daring rescue of Sarah. The recent victory had boosted morale, and they all felt a renewed sense of purpose. "We can turn the tide of this war," Mike declared, looking each member of his team in the eye. "We've shown the Xenon that we are not afraid. Now it's time to take the fight to them." In the Xenon command ship, Commander Varkon paced back and forth, deep in thought. The recent loss of soldiers and the rescue of the human captive frustrated him. "These humans are becoming a real problem," he muttered. "They are learning our tactics and adapting quickly. We cannot allow them to gain any more ground." Varkon knew that he needed a new strategy, one that would crush the human spirit once and for all. Meanwhile, Mike and his team gathered in their command center. They had created a plan to strike at the heart of the Xenon base. Sarah had provided crucial information about the enemy's weaknesses. "They have a supply depot not far from here," she explained. "If we destroy it, we can cut off their resources and weaken them significantly." The team agreed. "Let's hit them hard and fast," Mike said, excitement bubbling in his voice. "We need to strike tonight while they are least prepared." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mike's team made their way to the supply depot, moving quietly through the darkened streets. They felt a mix of fear and adrenaline, but their determination kept them moving forward. "We're doing this for our families," Jake reminded them. "We can't let the Xenon win." Arriving at the depot, they spotted guards patrolling the area. Mike gestured for silence as they crept closer, studying the layout. They could see crates filled with weapons and supplies. "This is it," he whispered. "Let's make our move." With swift precision, they attacked the guards, taking them by surprise. The humans fought fiercely, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They quickly incapacitated the guards and moved deeper into the depot. "We have to plant explosives on those crates," Mike shouted, pointing to the stacks of supplies. "We'll destroy their resources and send a message." As they set the explosives, they heard alarms blaring in the distance. The Xenon had discovered their presence. "We need to hurry," Sarah urged, her heart racing. The team quickly finished their task and began to retreat, but the chaos was already unfolding around them. Varkon had been monitoring the situation from his ship. When he learned of the attack on the supply depot, he shouted orders to his soldiers. "We will crush these humans once and for all. Gather every soldier you can find. We must protect our resources." The humans sprinted away from the depot, knowing they had little time before the explosives detonated. "We can't stop now!" Mike yelled, leading the way. Behind them, the sound of Xenon soldiers echoed, growing louder by the second. The fight was far from over, but they had dealt a significant blow to their enemy. Just as they reached a safe distance, the depot exploded in a fiery blast, sending shockwaves through the area. The humans turned to watch the flames rise, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through them. "We did it!" Jake cheered, pumping his fist into the air. "This is just the beginning." The explosion not only destroyed the supplies, but also sent a clear message to the Xenon: humans were a force to be reckoned with. As Varkon surveyed the destruction from his ship, anger boiled within him. "They will pay for this," he vowed, his eyes narrowing. He knew he needed to respond quickly to regain control. Back at their command center, Mike and his team celebrated their success. "We've shown them that we can strike back," Mike said, grinning. "This gives us the chance to rally more people to our cause. We need to spread the word that humanity is standing together against the Xenon." As word spread through the nearby towns, more and more people joined their fight. Families who had lost loved ones to the Xenon came forward, ready to take a stand. The human spirit was ignited, and they began to train and organize themselves into a formidable resistance. As the Xenon prepared for their retaliation, they were met with a growing army of determined humans. Varkon realized that the humans were no longer a scattered force. They had united and become stronger than ever. The tide was truly turning, and the battle for Earth was about to reach a new level of intensity. With newfound hope and determination, the humans were ready to face whatever the Xenon threw at them. They had proven that they would not back down. And now they were prepared to fight for their planet and their future, knowing that together they could achieve the impossible. The battle for Earth had raged for weeks. Captain Mike Harris and his team had faced many challenges, but they had grown stronger with each victory. The human resistance was now a united force, filled with hope and determination. But the Xenon had not been idle. They were planning a counterattack, and tensions were rising on both sides. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mike gathered his team to discuss their next move. "We need to be smart about this," he said, his voice steady. "We've made great strides, but the Xenon will come at us harder than ever. We need to find a way to understand them better. We can't just fight. We need to know what drives them." Sarah, who had been listening intently, nodded. "I've seen how Commander Varkon operates. He is ruthless, but there's more to him. I think if we can reach out, we might find a way to talk instead of fight. Not every Xenon soldier is evil. They might have their own fears." Mike considered her words. "That's a risk, but it might be our best chance for peace. If we can communicate, we could save lives on both sides. I'll try to reach out." The next day, Mike sent a message to Varkon through a secure channel. He proposed a meeting, stating that they needed to understand each other to find a resolution. This is our only chance, he thought. We have to try. Meanwhile, aboard the Xenon flagship, Varkon received Mike's message. His initial reaction was anger. "Why should I listen to humans?" he grumbled. However, as he read the message again, he felt a flicker of curiosity. Perhaps there was something to gain from this. Varkon called for a council with his officers. "The humans want to talk," he announced. "They claim they wish to understand us. We should not ignore this opportunity." Some officers were skeptical. "They are merely stalling for time," one said. But Varkon shook his head. "We must at least hear them out." The meeting was set. Mike and a small team would meet with Varkon and his commanders in a neutral zone. As the day approached, Mike felt a mix of anxiety and hope. What if this doesn't go as planned? He wondered. But he pushed those thoughts aside. They had to try. When the day arrived, Mike and his team arrived at the designated meeting place, a small barren moon far from Earth. The Xenon ship hovered above, casting a long shadow over the surface. As the hatch opened, Varkon stepped out, flanked by his officers. "Welcome, humans," Varkon said, his voice deep and commanding. Mike stepped forward, trying to keep his nerves in check. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," he replied. "We need to talk about our conflict and find a way to stop the bloodshed." Varkon studied Mike for a moment. "What makes you think I will listen to you?" he asked, his tone skeptical. Mike took a deep breath. "Because I believe there is more to our stories than just war. We have families and homes to protect just like you. Fighting only brings suffering." The Xenon commander seemed intrigued but remained guarded. "You humans claim to be strong and fearless, yet you wish to talk?" he countered. "Is that not a sign of weakness?" Mike shook his head. "No, it's a sign of strength. A true warrior knows when to fight and when to seek peace." The conversation continued, with both sides sharing their stories and motivations. Mike explained the humans' desire to protect their planet and loved ones, while Varkon spoke of the Xenons' struggle to secure resources and their own survival. As the dialogue unfolded, both sides began to see each other in a new light. The tension that had once filled the air slowly shifted to understanding. "Perhaps our goals are not so different after all," Varkon admitted, finally lowering his guard. As the meeting came to a close, Mike proposed a truce. "Let's work together to find a solution that benefits both our peoples. We can share resources instead of fighting over them." Varkon considered this, recognizing the potential for a different future. "I will discuss this with my council," Varkon replied, "but I am open to the idea. If we can establish trust, perhaps we can avoid more bloodshed." The two leaders shook hands, symbolizing a new beginning. As Mike and his team returned to their base, they felt a sense of hope. They had taken the first step toward peace, and while challenges remained, the possibility of a new understanding had emerged. Back on Earth, news of the meeting spread quickly. People from both sides were eager to see if a lasting peace could be achieved. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope that the war could end, and a new era of cooperation could begin. As the sun set on the horizon, Mike looked out over the world he loved, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Together, humans and Xenon could forge a future built on understanding and respect, proving that even the deepest divides could be bridged with courage and communication.